Both men die, and a great reversal takes place. Lazarus is carried by angels, God's sky servants, other than human persons, which are constellations in sky vault, to the bosom of Abraham, a place of honor at the top of creation. Abraham is the most honored ancestor in all of Israel. To be at his side is to be at the most honored place. This reflects something very common in the Bible. We hear the same thing in Mary's canticle, the Magnificat, which has been banned in certain Catholic countries, by the way. He has thrown down the rulers from their thrones, but lifted up the lowly. The hungry he has filled with good things. The rich he has sent away empty. The greedy man is buried and ends up in Hades, the nether realm, the abode of the dead, the very bottom of creation. He is not in the pleasant areas of the nether realm, but a gathering point of all the viscera of the cosmos, at the sulphurous pool at the bottom of the Hades portion of the sky, or bowl, or bottomless pit. Medieval Christians went wild with this story. They imagined it to be a snapshot of hell. Actually, Hades is just a Greek word meaning the abode of the dead.
What?
The abode of the dead, the nether realm. It's a depressing place, not necessarily a place of punishment. In a shamanic understanding, it's the roots of the cosmic tree. Everyone who dies ends up there. Israelites imagined a bit of your existence, a shadow, continued there. But it was at its best dry and dusty and dark, and at its worst hellish. This understanding evolved into a major feast day for medieval Christians. In the medieval Western Church, Lazarus became a saint, his feast day being June 21st. Medieval celebrations of God's help were widespread on this day. Several Catholic cultures still venerate San Lazaro. In life, Lazarus got no food. Now in death, the greedy man gets no water. The chasm between them, between the honored part of sky vault and the shameful bottomless pit, mirrors the social chasm of the greedy man's gate that separated them in life. Both are impassable. The greedy man calls out from the pit, asking Abraham to send Lazarus to dip his finger in water so as to cool off his tongue. Abraham replies that the chasm between them is impassable. This mirrors what was going on in life between these two men. The social economic chasm between elite and expendable was impassable. This world did not know of the American belief, more money makes good. The same way in life there was an uncrossable chasm, so too in the beyond life there is an uncrossable chasm. Class mobility in antiquity was non-existent. The greedy man calls Abraham father. This is significant. He's claiming to be family, and therefore, by doing so, he's evoking family privileges with Abraham, and Abraham as his patron, with all the responsibilities that a godfather must fulfill. But was the greedy man in life enjoying all his surplus patron to Lazarus, his brother in Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, Israel? No. The greedy man asks Abraham to send Lazarus. This is the same as in life. He can't do anything besides order people around. That's what he's done his whole life. Why would beyond life be any different? Nothing has changed. Why would it? The greedy man never understood in life, so why would he understand in death? Informed by Abraham that there's no way possible to alleviate his suffering, to come from one place to the other in this afterlife, the greedy man asks Abraham to send Lazarus to warn his 5 brothers. Nowhere does it cross his mind to be concerned about people like Lazarus. He's just concerned of his own. Sound familiar? He's only concerned about his own kind, his own elite group, other greedy, wealthy people. This mirrors his life perfectly. He just doesn't get it. Abraham replies to the greedy man that his brothers have Moses and the prophets. Let them listen to them. In other words, they have the Torah and the prophetic tradition and the scriptures of Israel. That's enough. It's very clear in those scriptures. You ought to be able to get it. Abraham replies to the greedy man that his brothers have Moses and the prophets, let them listen to them. In other words, they have the Torah, the prophetic tradition, the scriptures of Israel. But the greedy man replies that the warning must come from a messenger from the dead. But Father Abraham knows better, answering that if the greedy elites don't get it from their scriptures, then they also won't get it from a person who has returned from the dead. What a caustic comment about how thick and stupid this greedy elite is, even in death. When you explore this parable illuminated by the actual cultural and socioeconomic situation of the time of Jesus the storyteller and his audience, some extremely tough questions get raised. These questions are tough for us, United States people. Do riches make us unable to see the poor? I think that you would have to argue yes. Many of us are terrifyingly similar to the greedy elite man in this parable. It's not the same situation. Capitalism has goods and bads. Capitalism has allowed people that otherwise would be peasants and beggars even to make something of money and take care of things. So it's not all bad, but we have to ask questions like, in what way does capitalism not serve the common good? Why doesn't he get a job?
How come some of them are in color and some of them are in black and white?
I just chose it like that. That's what I was looking for, brother.
Very interesting.
Do you think he's going to get the message? Choose life. One of the most amazing things about the earliest Jesus groups and early Christianity, folks, is that there were rich people who got it. Understand, Christianity would not have survived without this happening. If elites, writers, scribes didn't get the message.
Right.
But even in death, the greedy elite doesn't get it here in this story. And there are today in the American church a whole lot of folks that don't get it.
I will spit you out.
What does it take for the blind to see? The comment in this parable is that you wouldn't get it if a dead person came back from the grave and hit you over the head with it. It's easy to have compassion for your own kind, your 5 brothers. But for people living under the bridges, it can be a little difficult. In Jesus' day, 250,000 people lived in the sewers of the city of Rome. For elites like the greedy man, poor people are out of sight, out of mind. It's impossible for the greedy man to see that his great wealth came from exploitation of people like Lazarus. Lazarus is just the end product of what began with the foreclosure of land, folks. Elites like the greedy man gained their great wealth by turning foreclosed farmland into grapes, with the benefit of the debt courts and the corrupt judges and scribes who acted as his agents and retainers. The net result was people falling down to the point that Lazarus finds himself in. And who benefited from Lazarus' doom? Is it possible for the wealthy to see their own wealth often comes from exploiting the poor? How could anyone arrive at the conclusion that Jesus is not commenting on social problems, like Gary said? And we have leading scholars that have done this. What does the Lucan Jesus say of his own mission? Luke 4, the Spirit of the Lord is upon me because he has anointed me to bring glad tidings to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim liberty to captives, recovery of sight to the blind, to let the oppressed go free, and to proclaim a year acceptable to the Lord. That's a year of Jubilee. What happened in the year of Jubilee? Canceling of all debts. This ties in with the meaning of the name of Lazarus, the one whom God helps. The Jubilee year in the Old Testament is when, in the 50th year, all ancestral lands had to be returned to the original family. That's the acceptable year. By the 1st century, this belief in the Jubilee was alive and well among the Galilean peasantry, but it had been dead as a doornail among the aristocracy. The parable of the greedy man and Lazarus repeats a constant refrain in the Bible. As Mary sings in her canticle, his mercy is from age to age to those who fear him. He has shown might with his arm, dispersed the arrogant of mind and heart. He has thrown down the rulers from their thrones, but lifted up the lowly. The hungry he has filled with good things. The rich he has sent away empty. He has helped Israel, his servant, remembering his mercy. It's so amazing to me that so many people will pray the rosary endlessly, but never the Magnificat. You go to jail for the Magnificat. I wonder why. In Argentina, at one point, you go to jail for the Magnificat. Yes?
And this is a good prayer. If you can say it every day, I would say.
Amen. Or as Paul put it, 1 Corinthians 1:27 and 29. God chose the foolish, the moron of the world to shame the wise. God chose the weak of the world to shame the strong. God chose the lowly and despised of the world, those who count for nothing, to reduce to nothing those who are something, so that no human being might boast before God. Can you imagine if Paul, one of his favorite phrases for Jesus is, the ektumoron theu, the moron of God. Can you imagine us singing a hymn? You are God's moron. You are God's weakness. No, but that's Paul.
The competition.
This is just one more example of how we domesticate the parables of Jesus. Not only have the poor disappeared from the eyesight of the greedy man in this parable, the poor have disappeared from Western commentaries in the New Testament that are all over the United States, Europe, and in many other Western places. The Lucan Jesus is holding up to view the God who helps the poor, the vulnerable, the weak. And that is the core of Jesus' own understanding and his own mission into the world. Jesus came to bring good news to the poor.